we are here with David Friesen, registered physiotherapist extraordinaire and clinical manager of our Propel Peterborough location. Dave, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Hi, how are you?
I'm not too bad, mate. I think the entire purpose of this first portion of our discussion is to let people get to know you a little bit more and get to know the real Dave Friesen, so to speak, from the physiotherapy world. I've got a couple of questions to pick your brain, and if it's okay, I'll start rambling off and you let me know if I'm speaking too fast. Is that cool?
Sounds good.
All right. Yeah. So, Dave, you've been practicing for a number of years now. I like to know what the backstory is, what brought you to it, what attracted you to become a physiotherapist?
Well, that's a great question. I'll have to go back to kind of the university days. I definitely had a love for sports and interest in science and healthcare when I was first trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. So I went to kinesiology, having master. Started doing the course there, and eventually got interested in this program they did called Mac Wheelers. I think you were part of that as well.
Yes, go Mac Wheelers.
Yeah. For people that don't know, it's a program that helps individuals that are using wheelchairs to exercise in a supportive space, kind of a modified gym that's all set up for wheelchair users. And so we're just volunteering there, helping people out and just seeing like what kind of difference it can make in their lives. That kind of got me down the road of helping people with neurological injuries and issues. And from there, I started looking into physio school, starting to think it was going to be right for me, the kind of the problem solving nature of physio, ever changing, like kind of the relationships that you can build, all those type of things really drew me to physiotherapy. And then, just like using movement and exercise as like the key kind of component to our treatment, I think it really stood out to me as being very useful and beneficial for so many people out there. And so I applied for physio school, got into U of T, did my program there 2009 to 2011, and I graduated in 2011.
Wow. So does it scare you to think, it's pretty much, it's a decade, right? Or a little bit over a decade kind of thing. You take a step back and you're like, oh my gosh, going through your resume and going through your work experience, has anything, changed across your course of practice as a physiotherapist?
Yeah, that's a good question. Definitely have traveled a long way from that, starting point of just graduating and just not having a ton of experience with actual clients. So I think a lot has changed since that time. I got really interested in neurological rehab, working with elderly clients and working with clients after like more complex injuries. I did just got some experience in a few different clinics in Toronto there.
Right.
And then wanted to kind of improve my overall understanding and my treatment. So I've done a few courses in like the Bobath concept, which is a neurological rehab training course that focuses like a lot on movement impairments and helping, clients after neurological injuries, or just like anyone after any injury, really. It's just like a concept that I've kind of used throughout my practice. And just a different way to look at physiotherapy and helping people.
No doubt. That's awesome. Fast forward to a couple of years ago, you made the move to Peterborough. How has that transition from Toronto to Peterborough been? And like, it's obviously kind of different areas of the province and, the different clientele. How have you found that transition to be for yourself personally and professionally as well?
Yeah, it's been a great transition. Everything from personal life. It's just a lot different kind of community up here, living in a smaller town than Toronto. You get to know a lot more people in your neighborhood and in your community. So that part of things has been awesome for me and my family. And then from a physio perspective, Well, the main difference, as you know, is that I went from in clinic and doing a little bit of in-home physiotherapy to 100% in-home physiotherapy. So going into people's houses, seeing them in the communities, in the gym, in the pool, anywhere and everywhere around Peterborough. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of travel, but it's been a very like eye-opening and great experience overall, just going into people's homes and really getting to connect with them and their families while I'm doing physiotherapy with them. And then just using the community as a tool as well. Like I said, I've gone into multiple gyms around here, access the community pools at the YMCA and the wellness center. So yeah, it's been great. It's been a bit of a change of perspective and just not being in the clinic setting as much, but overall it's been good.
Awesome. I mean, like, it sounds like you've had a lot of, new experiences that were positive, obviously some troubleshooting along the way.
Yeah.
So we often come across some newer graduates or even, people thinking about doing some community physiotherapy work or in-home or in residence physiotherapy work. What's like one shining kind of like tip or pearl of wisdom kind of thing that you wish you knew when you first started doing much more of the community or in-home physiotherapy? What would you want to share with one of those aspiring therapists?
I would say at first I was a little, unsure of just how much we could do in somebody's home.
Right.
What equipment would I need to bring? How do I prepare for something like that in a client's home that I've never been in before? But really, it's all come very like natural to the client's home, and just using what a client has in their home is super beneficial because it is their home environment, right? It is what they're living with every single day, and it's not like a clinic space where they go in, they have all this access to equipment, good setup for everything. You're really just able to use what's theirs. For instance, if a client is having trouble going up and down the stairs, then you practice in their home going up and down the stairs, right? Yeah. And I think clients really appreciate that, and they get a lot more kind of take home education and advice when you're there with them one-on-one, and just using what they have with them.
Yeah. And it sounds like you're really speaking towards like that task specificity. And I remember picking your brain earlier, and it was like, the application for what you've just learned or worked on or like exercise, you can almost like directly say, hey, okay, we just practiced these movements and exercises for these muscles. Let's see how it transfers to exactly what your goals were. And there's no like delay in it. It's like, do, show, yeah. Right. And exactly. I think that's like a really powerful concept that a lot of people might, forget about. And totally like the home environment or in residence environment definitely plays a huge factor to that. But that's awesome. That is a very good clinical pearl of wisdom. Just to kind of round out this last part of the discussion on getting to know you, what would you tell some of the potential clients or family members or people who are kind of interested in physiotherapy, neurological physiotherapy, in-home physiotherapy? What would you tell them about yourself and your practice to really, bring comfort to them if they were a little bit more hesitant on working with a physiotherapist, or just not really knowing what a in-home physiotherapist would be doing?
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't really know too much about in-home physiotherapy. It's just different than the usual kind of standard in-clinic physiotherapy. So yeah, I think a lot of it is just education around what we had spoke about earlier. Just telling them, we're going to use what's in your home to do our physiotherapy sessions. That you don't need anything fancy. You don't need a perfect setup for me to come in. For instance, I've had a lot of clients, older clients or clients after injuries. When we first get there, it's all about that actual rehab from I had one client with a hip fracture, and We were kind of doing rehab specifically for his hip right off the bat. But once he actually got through that portion, we started realizing there's a lot more that we could do from a physiotherapy perspective, because we were in the home, and he was struggling getting up to his bedroom.
You see it live, right?
Like before the accident even, right? So
right.
then we were able to work on that, turn that into like more functional stuff, get him back into some like golf swinging and that kind of thing. So, it turns into more than just the actual rehab from the initial injury. It's pretty cool that way how, he wouldn't even like looked into physiotherapy had it not been for this injury, but because it was a stepping stone to getting him even more functional than he was before. So so just like little stories like that are good to kind of communicate with clients that are interested in kind of telling them your full extent of what you can do.
Cool.